Greetings, y'all. Kalanar here with a bit of a day 1 and day 2 highlights and update for what's going on with Ultimatum League. Not going to touch on. We all know that the league start was rough. We were streaming for about 10 hours, just like pushing through and giving it our best. But jumping right into the character, we started off with a Pyroclast Miner. We're Saboteur, and we pushed up to level 82. Took us like 12 hours to get to maps, like 11 and a half, which isn't great, but it's fine. It's all in line with stuff, and made a lot of the progress back on Saturday. So, talking about stuff that we got, we've definitely been getting a ton of raw chaos from Ultimatum. We got kind of lucky on some of the sales, so we were able to afford a Tremor Rod, which you can see here. Tremor Rod is the core of a lot of different miner builds, so we definitely made sure to get that in. All of my gear is just, really scuffed, barely pulling it together. We are res capped, and we're level 82, and we only have 3.7k life, and that is mostly coming from our gear. We have a decent amount on the tree, which I'll get into in a minute, but with a miner, whenever there are new spells coming out, I always try to test those out. So we were testing out Reap, and we were testing out Exsanguinate, we were testing out what is this, Corrupting Fever. So a little bit of a spoiler, but Exsanguinate, holy hell, y'all. Exsanguinate is now our main skill. It does work. So we got this on a chain setup. I'll go through the links and kind of break this down of what's going on here, but it just chews through content. So we are still going Pyroclast Mines for bosses, but for everything else, and even on some of the weaker bosses, we are just going with pure Exsanguinate. It's only on a 5 link. The 5 link that I'm currently running is not optimized at all. We are basically running our gear as a Pyroclast Miner and just running Exsanguinate on top of it, and it still annihilates. We're just doing some lower tier maps as well, so I wouldn't say that this is, 100% of where it will be at in red maps, but it is super promising, and I'm really going to be pushing through to see what more we can wring out of Exsanguinate. We can go through the links. So as I said, this is super suboptimal. I'm just testing stuff out and working with really low currency at the moment. But what we have is Exsanguinate. So Exsanguinate is a new skill. It's spell, chaining, physical, and duration for the tags. So good tags, easy to scale, and it has a couple components to it. So releases tendrils of blood from your character, targeting enemies in a cone in front of you. The nice thing that we have with mines is mines will auto-target, so we don't have to worry if that is a narrow cone. But each of those beams or tendrils deals physical damage and then applies a physical dot that can stack up to 3 times, which is pretty potent. Not so much for us because we're focused more on the upfront damage of the physical rather than the dot, but it does help a bit for bossing and things like that. The tendrils themselves can fire up to 9 targets currently, and we also, jumping ahead a little bit, chained this. So it's 9 targets per mine. Each of those targets then chain plus 2 times. And we are throwing, if we get up to here, you'll see that we are at 23 mines. So it doesn't look really impressive just from sitting here. If we jump into some Pyroclast mine, you can definitely see that, well, if I can actually get my mine sequence going right, it doesn't quite have that visual oomph that Pyro has, but just watching the footage, you can see that it just chews through ultimatums. So that's kind of where we're still using Pyro for single target, because it's not quite there yet. Not sure if that's something that we will try pushing for like Corrupting Fever or something else to really be pure blood focused. But for now, still testing phase, just showing a lot of promise. Finishing up the links real quick, showing that we have nothing real special. We got Minefield, Chain as we talked about, Trap and Mine damage, and Cruelty. Cruelty is definitely not optimal for us since we're focusing on the upfront damage. This is only giving us 28% more damage because that cruelty buff is giving us the 50% more damage over time, but also the increased effect of cruelty from the cruelty support. So super suboptimal. I'd like to try running this with Swift Assembly when my links will actually allow me to do so. We just blew through a bunch of crumbs trying to get our gear functional. Other aspects of the character, I was talking about, we have Pyroclast Mine. Again, you know, like level 18 gems we're still pushing through. But Pyro, Conk Effect, Inspiration, Swift Assembly. Again, just dealing with terrible links. This is like a 4 off color golden plate, so need to actually like get a new chest piece here. But rest of the gear is terrible. It's just like an Arcane Surge and Flame Dash, some Smoke Mine, Skitter Bots. Right now we're running Skitter Bots, and we're still running Herald of Ash. I do want to swap this over to a Zealotry because that will be a better double dipping on both Pyro and Exsanguinate since I'm running them in tandem right now. And then this is my Armageddon brand setup for Combustion and a Hex Touch for Flammability. Again, for focusing on the single target there. And then just a Corrupting Fever and the Castment Damage Immortal Call setup. So pretty standard there. Jumping over to the skill tree, we are Saboteur. We have our Merc Lab done, still trying to get the last few trials. You can see that it's just kind of skimming over quickly here. It's a pretty standard mine setup. The obviously you get all of your mine clusters. We got spell damage, or spell crit and crit multi. We're going to be going for like Throat Seeker here, as well as Heart Seeker down there. And it's not much else to talk about. I'm going to be filling in a couple extra nodes of life that I was just rushing past. So that's kind of why we're, you know, pretty low on life, as well as our gear just being terrible. One note, I know that a lot of people are going Explosive Expert. I tend to prefer Demolition Specialist. The increased effective auras for mines when you're running Pyroclast, to me, is a lot more impactful. And we're already getting a ton of multi, especially with, you know, picking up like these two clusters here. So that's where the character's at. The Atlas progression, as we said before, we're pretty early, just, you know, pushing through T3s and T4s. So we will have another video coming out on how this character is once we've got to the endgame content. And there's not much else to say for the character. Exsanguinate is really, really strong. Reap is really strong, although I'm not quite sure of how it's going to go for mines. Again, we didn't touch on it here because I don't think that it has a lot of potential for my setup. We'll be touching on it again once we do get to later content, you know, see if that could be our single target damage, although I really don't see it outclassing Pyro. But again, we'll see. More testing to do, but very promising right now. Touching on Ultimatum itself. Ultimatum is worth your time. It spits out a lot of chaos. It can spit out exalted shards. The gear that comes from it is well rolled in the sense of there's a back end rolling multiple times for a better reward at the end for whatever gear it does offer you. It doesn't mean it'll always be good, but it is worth checking out. There were a lot of things that I was getting from leveling of just really sick wands, movement speed, life, and res boots. It's worth your time. You should do it as long as you can clear through that content. There is some optimization you can do on the exact trials that you're taking, those modifiers that you're clicking to put onto your ultimatum waves. So you can go check those videos out. I know Grimro had a really good one that I was just reading through last night, and there's a couple out there as well. So pick your choice, take a look at it, and really just get all the juice that you can out of Ultimatum. It is worth it, and we will hopefully touch more on inscribed ultimatums as we're getting more of those. I'm kind of just collecting some to do some testing myself before I work on that. Have some more to say about Ritual later in the league once I can play around with it a little bit more. The implementation, as a spoiler, is pretty much exactly in line with what I was hoping for, but more to come on that. So I know that this was a really, really, really rough league start, and there's a lot of emotions about streamer priority and everything going on there. So it's already been said. All of my feelings are already out there from other people's opinions of what transpired with that situation. So I hope you're doing okay. I hope that your character is going okay, that you've had a little bit of time to really enjoy the league without disconnecting all the time. And that if you haven't started yet, I'm excited that you will probably have a pretty clean, smooth league start. We do have a video up that I released a few days ago that was about some league start prep stuff. So if you haven't started your character yet, if you haven't really dove into the league itself, you can go ahead and check that out. If you're liking the content, subscribing, liking, commenting is really appreciated. Whenever people are commenting down below, I always jump in there and have a little bit of a conversation, try and answer some questions. So if there's anything that you have questions on, I know mines are less commonly talked about, especially with like the newer skills. I haven't really seen too much on it yet, so I'm happy to chat more. You can also catch me when I'm streaming on twitch.tv/KalanarTV. Going to try and be getting that a little more consistently, but we'll see how the week goes with work. And either way, I think that kind of ties it together. So take it easy. Good luck on your adventures.